What is estate planning and why does it matter for everyone? The biggest thing about estate planning is about what happens to you during your lifetime. Everybody always thinks about estate planning as what happens to your assets after you've passed away. And that is important. But I think what's even more important is how do you want to be treated? How do you want to be cared for during your lifetime? And you can put all of that in an estate plan exactly how you want things to happen. Estate planning for new families. A lot of times young parents don't think about estate planning when they have a brand new baby. And that's because, well, they've got a lot of other things to think about. But estate planning for new parents is essential because if the unforeseeable were to happen, they get in a car accident, they become incapacitated, who is going to care for that brand new baby? And if you're a new parent and you have an estate plan, you can designate exactly what you want to happen with not only the care for your child, but the money that is used for their care until they become an adult. We get this question a lot. What are the key documents for an estate plan? And a lot of times people just think, well, I need a last will or a revocable trust. But the truth of the matter is you need an umbrella of documents to protect you. And that could include a revocable living trust, a pour-over will, a financial power of attorney, a health care power of attorney, an advance directive, sometimes called a living will, HIPAA authorization. You need all of these documents to work together to protect you. How do you choose an executor or a trustee for your estate plan? Well, the bottom line is it has to be somebody who you implicitly trust. And a lot of times parents come into our office and they're like, well, I don't want to hurt my daughter's feelings, or I don't want to hurt my son's feelings by picking this person or the other. The truth is, you know your kids better than anybody else, and none of them might be a good choice. You may have to go and find a third party who you trust implicitly. And it's not that you don't trust your kids, it's just that some of them are good with money and some of them are good with health care. So you need to choose wisely who is going to be in these fiduciary roles to not only protect you, but protect their inheritance. How does estate planning differ depending on how young or old you are? Well, it really doesn't, except your personal priorities might change. And that is why estate planning is so important. When you're younger, your main priority may be who takes care of your children if you were to pass away, if you were no longer around. That's a very important decision because a lot of times what we have seen is grandparents fighting over who is going to take care of little Sally or little Enrique. And it's best that you have a plan in place for who does this. Now, as you grow, as your family grows, instead of one child, you have two child, and your assets start to grow. You're no longer in a single family home, you're in a bigger home. Your estate plan needs to change with you so that as life goes on, your estate plan also evolves and changes with you. One of the biggest myths that we see, or a lot of people think, is that estate planning is only for the wealthy or the ultra wealthy. And when we actually sit down with people and start talking to them, they realize, or we hope to educate them on the fact that estate planning is really about what happens to you now during your lifetime. That's the important thing, right? Do you want to go to assisted living? Do you want to stay in your home as long as possible? If you're in a persistent vegetative state, do you want food, water, and pain medication? Or do you just want pain medication? These are important decisions that everybody should have in their estate plan. Why is it so important to update your estate plan on a regular basis? Well, the people in your estate plan may not be alive anymore, or you may not be friends with them anymore, or it may be a son or daughter who's now married to somebody and you can no longer trust them implicitly like you used to. You may have more money, you may have less money, you may want to divide your assets up in a different way. The most important thing to remember about a good estate plan is that it evolves with your lifetime. I always tell clients I want to meet with them at least once a year, just like you should be meeting with your doctor once a year, your insurance person once a year. Everybody who's important in all these financial people, you need to be meeting with them to see if there's any changes that need to be made so your estate plan works exactly how you want it to work. What is the biggest difference between a revocable living trust and a last will and testament? Well, the biggest difference is that with a probate or with a last will, your estate is going to have to go through the probate process. And so while the cost of a revocable living trust may be a little bit more expensive in the beginning, it's going to cost your family and your estate a lot more money in the long run because your family is going to have to spend money on a probate. With a revocable living trust, you designate somebody as your trustee, so if you become incapacitated or you pass away, your trustee simply steps into your shoes, takes over, and does what you have specifically stated in that trust document without having to go to the probate court. What is the risk of not having an estate plan at all? Well, almost all states here in the United States have a last will and testament written for you in their state statutes. And that may not be how you want your estate distributed. So, for example, maybe you got remarried and you had children from a previous relationship. Well, if you had an estate plan in place, maybe you would have wanted your assets to be divided between your current spouse and your children. But without an estate plan in place, the differences on that distribution can be drastic, and you could possibly leave your spouse with less money, or you could possibly leave your children with less money. So it's very important to get an estate plan and not rely on the state that you live in for what somebody else, what a legislature has decided is in your best interest.